You've tried it all. Weighing the food, tracking the calories. You ain't got any time. You're coming off 12-hour shifts. You're busy working on the business. You're making big decisions and you've got responsibilities. And quite frankly, counting your calories is the last thing that you want to do. I get it and I understand. So I'm going to show you how you can rip your first 10 pounds of body fat without any experience, especially when it comes to calorie counting. Now, these methods are what I wish I had when I was over 200 pounds, because just dipping your toes, right? And this is who this is for, into dieting can be very, very overwhelming. You feel like there's 101 things that you need to learn and 106 rules that you need to follow. But I'm here to break that belief here right now and say that's not the case. There are just 3 simple things that you can do to drop your first 10 pounds fat, okay, body fat. I'm going to share exactly what they are right here, right now. If you stay to the end of this video, I know it's going to dig you out of whatever trial, tribulation, or suffering that you're going through right now when it comes to your body. Now, there's a concept that I learned a while back when I was losing fat. This was a period of my life where I was not down and out, but it was kind of heading down that path. While I had the stress at work that I was dealing with, for those of you that don't know, I would not drink, not excessively, it wasn't a problem, but it was a form of cope for me where I could be confident and I could be eccentric and I could be my full self without worrying about my weight. Obviously, if this were to have continued, then this would have led to a really bad and nasty cycle where I would have just been using it as cope. But this is where, at my lowest of lows, and I had one of my first businesses, it was a drop shipping business that, that didn't go down too well. So what I'm trying to say is that it was a really bad period of my life. And this whole calorie counting thing, it was just too much for me at the time. It was something up here that I really didn't need. And I thought to myself, what would be the best, quickest, most effective and sustainable way for me right now to start dropping body fat without committing too heavily just yet to invasive or constant calorie tracking? And I've coined this term that I use with the guys that I work with, and I call it clean cuts. I've used this example before, but in the backyard back there, tons of trees, okay? If you came to me in this house right now and I said to you, listen, I need you to go out there and cut down 100 trees. I handed you an axe. Would you start chopping down those trees from the branches or the little twigs? Or would you start from the trunk, the main base of the tree? Now, hopefully, gosh, you said the trunk of the tree, right? Because why? That's where you're going to see the biggest impact. That's where you're going to yield the most results for your effort. Apply that to dieting and calorie tracking. We do not follow diet plans right here. We have highly personalized, individualized plans for people like yourself. Look at your diet and think to yourself, okay, I'm having, let's say you got steak and eggs for breakfast. Maybe you got some avocado and maybe you down a protein shake with it. Why not, right? Very, very simple, very basic. What you need to do is become hyper aware of your situation and think to yourself, really think to yourself here, what are some of the things, small things that I could change that are going to yield a massive difference? A lot of the guys that I work with, they eat healthy food. The problem is not them eating junk or McDonald's every single day. A lot of the problems that they're facing is actually how they're preparing their healthy food, right? The food is healthy on the surface, but underneath there are a lot of things that are just jacking up the calories, okay? So with the eggs, are you using butter? Are you using oil? How can we reduce it? What alternatives do you have available to you that are still going to make that food palatable? Cuts of meat. Is it particular fatty meat that you're having? Are you going for a ribeye in the morning, or are you going for something a little bit leaner, like a skirt steak or a sirloin? With a protein shake, are you using whole milk? Are you using a protein milk? Are you using an almond milk? That's very low in calories. So think to yourself, okay, without getting too deep into this, where or what aspects or what items can I cut from my current diet right now that I know are taking up a huge amount of calories that I can wipe out and that are going to put me, or it's going to make it easier for me to be in a calorie deficit so you can start dropping that fat week on week. Now, how do you actually do this? Well, there's a couple of areas where you should look. Again, the theme of this is personalization and individuality. I don't know because I'm not working with you. I can't open this up and I can't look inside. But some key pointers to look out for. Look at where there's some high fat items. Fat is not bad. We need fat for hormone production. but fat's 9 calories per gram. If you're having a lot of those, that's a lot of extra calories or unnecessary calories that you're packing on. So think about, can you go for reduced fat options? Can you just have less of the thing and more of the other stuff, maybe more protein, for example? When you're looking at sugars, if you rely a lot on diet drinks, I just left a Fanta Zero in the freezer. It's been in there for about 3 hours. Fuck. And Albert, that's so annoying. You know what type of channel this is now. Oh man, how did I forget? Anyway, if you're having things like diet Fantas that you're not leaving in the freezer, hopefully, or you rely on a lot of diet drinks to keep you fuller throughout the day, can you incorporate more of those instead of having teas and instead of having coffees? If you have teas and you have coffees, can you use an artificial sweetener like Splenda? It's up to you, to look at your diet and open it up like a surgeon and see where you can just clean these, or where you can make these clean cuts. Picture it like this. You know, you watch those National Geographic programs, those like Amazon people in the jungle, and they have their machetes and they're just like going down and going down and going down. Think about where you can remove that big unnecessary bulk, that being calories from your diet. You're destined for success. These next 2 points are very quick. Next is going to be data. So although calorie tracking right now might be a little bit much for you, considering how busy that you are, right? You're going to need to track data, and the data that I want you to track currently is not your calories, but it's going to be your body weight. Non-negotiable, you're going to weigh yourself every single day. Data is king. We're not scared with it. When we have real numbers, we have real things that we can work with, then we can manipulate things to get our desired outcome. Okay? A lot of you are either in a company or you're running your own business right now. Would you, if you're, say, running ads, for example, on a product that you have, maybe a service, whatever it may be, are you telling me that you wouldn't want to know how much that you're spending? No, of course you would. And it's the exact same thing with your fat loss. Anywhere that you've gotten to, whatever level you've gotten to in your career or in your own personal finance journey or in your own business, think about the things that you did to get there and how hyper aware and how switched on that you need to be 24/7 a day, 24 hours a day. You need to apply that same mental model and framework over into your fat loss, because it is the exact same thing. The exact same thing. You track the data and you see, is your average weekly weight going down? If so, you keep doing what you're doing. If not, you know that you're going to have to open back up your diet and make some of those clean cuts yet again. And next, everything that I mentioned is completely useless. And if I'm being quite honest, you might as well just click off the video at this point if you're not going to do this step. And that is going to be background activity. Background activity is vital, and it's how people can get amazing results. For the people that I coach, can get amazing results without doing HIIT cardio, jumping rope, running up hills like Rocky. This is how we do it, right? I want you to see this form of exercise as a background generator. You see, I've got a light there, I've got a light here, I've got the camera, I've got my whole setup right in front of me here, okay? What's fueling that? Some kind of electricity, okay? But what happens for whatever reason, electricity goes out. What is there in most households? There is a backup generator that's just always cooking away in the background, making everything that you see here run efficiently and effectively. That for you on a fat loss journey is going to be steps. Now, I always said get 10K steps, get 10K steps, get 10K steps. But through working with people, which by the way, if anything that I've described to you previously in this video is something that you're struggling with, there's going to be a link in the pinned comment and in the description. So if you want to jump on a call and see how I can help you if we're a good fit, I'd be more than happy to chat to you about that. But getting the 10K steps, taking normal advice, which is not what I really preach around here, it doesn't work for everybody, okay? Because you have lives, okay? Maybe some of you have a kid, you have a busy job, you have responsibilities that you need taken care of, and it's just not feasible or practical for you sometimes. And I totally understand that and I get it. So what you're going to want to do is have a baseline step count, okay? Let's say currently you're getting, I want to be as generous as possible here, so we're going to go 3,000. Let's say you're hitting 3,000 a day. Next week, we're going to up that by 10 to 20%. You know your own limits. I don't know you and your situation, so I'm not going to, it would be unfair. I'd just be lying if I were to give you an exact number. 10 to 15% increase week on week on a week. And you're going to do that. And what that background exercise or activity is going to do is allow you to slowly cook calories away. This is not a life-changing thing. If you do this for a week and quit, you're not going to get good results. But if you do this, what you'll find is that if you have a spare 5 minutes, go on that walk, don't doom scroll, okay? On a lunch break, on a call, walk around. These in a vacuum in isolation don't make a massive amount of difference, but what it does is when you compound these over an extended period of time, you're just cooking this backup generator, and the more muscle that you gain, the more fat that you lose, the more efficient you become, the easier the process is. And then once you're at that point, you've been doing everything for so long that getting 10k steps to you is now easy. So I hope you can see now that when it comes to losing your first 10 pounds, okay, with limited experience, how simple this can be. If you follow those 3 principles, it is going to be impossible for you to mess up. There's no world that you do what I've said, that you do what I've just said, and you don't make the progress or see the results that you want to see. Now, like I said, I understand that this can still be a little bit overwhelming for some of you. So there is that link in the description if you want me to help you out and lend a hand on this journey. However, I have made a full 40-minute deep dive breaking down this process A to Z for somebody who is busy, for somebody who wants to spend less time in the gym, less time in the kitchen, and still grow as a person without sacrificing their career, getting themselves in the best shape possible while building the strong mind that comes with it. It is all in that video.